Surviving is the same thing as winning. By Please Dial 123. Chapter 3. Elimination Round Part 2. Next match, Kiba versus Sasuke. Sasuke sat up and pushed himself to his feet. Kakashi gently rested a hand on his shoulder, looking him over. Sasuke met his gaze squarely. "Remember, if that seal spreads," Kakashi warned, trailing off ominously. "I have control." Sasuke snapped, offended by the suggestion that he didn't. Kakashi gave him a shoulder squeeze and tried to convey by eyes alone that he believed the boy. It must have been successful because Sasuke relaxed. "Good! Go give him hell!" And Sasuke did. Kiba was good, especially with his Ningen, but Sasuke was a league above him, as he had been in the academy. The Inuzuka were mainly taijutsu fighters, but the few knew Jinju and their Ningen. While some assumed as an Uchiha, Sasuke would be a ninjutsu and genjutsu user, Sasuke had not had anyone to teach him those skills in a while. So Sasuke had stuck to taijutsu, something he could practice by himself. All the strength and stamina training paired with speed exercises in the past half a year had simply made him even better. So despite the fact Sasuke couldn't use chakra at the moment, he dominated his match. He looked pleased with himself as he resettled beside Sakura and Naruto and promptly passed out. Kakashi chuckled fondly as Sakura pat the boy's head gently. Next match, Ino versus Hinata. This match drew out a tad longer than the others. Ino was mediocre beyond her family jutsu, but Hinata was too fast to be caught in those. Hinata was too nervous though, not wanting to hurt a fellow Konoha nin, so her attacks were hesitant. So it went that Hinata, who should have won outright in the first few minutes, hesitated, and it ended up being drawn out. In the end, it was a draw. Hinata, getting surprised by Ino's last stubborn attack and unwilling to lash out too severely. Hinata ended up knocking Ino out just as Ino landed a hit on her head and knocked her out as well. Tie. Next match, Shino versus Neji. While Shino was skilled with his bugs, Neji was so skilled in taijutsu and speed it was only inevitable. Shino put on a good show though, drawing it out and showing he could fight against a stronger opponent and had the wits to draw it out longer than many others would have. Neji seemed to respect Shino by the end, for he ended it swiftly and easily with no brutality in his hits. Next match, Kankuro versus Lee. Puppets versus brute force. Kakashi winced at the sound of cracking bones as Guy's star pupil underestimated his strength on what he thought was a puppet. Despite the broken leg, the puppet boy fought back, masterfully directing his puppet. This kid had been trained by a puppet master and not just by some mediocre ninja. He would bear keeping an eye on, especially since none of the Konoha Genin would be used to fighting puppets. Kakashi watched as Lee showed off fantastic skill in taijutsu, showed off its speed Kakashi knew no Genin here could match, nor most of the chunin. Lee with his ridiculous speed could outpace the boy's chakra strings and puppet, and it was a knockout match soon enough. "You raised a good team, Guy," Kakashi said lightly. "All very strong in their own right. We'll have to see how they hold up against my own team in the finals." Guy beamed at him, giving him a thumbs up, and there was something soft in his crinkled grin that Kakashi returned. Next match, Gaara versus Misumi. It was done quick and hard. The poor boy had no warning before Sand converged and crushed him. Hayate made an aborted movement forward and then seemed to sigh and declared Gaara the winner, even as sand and blood dripped to the floor. Kakashi hid a wince and merely made a note to keep an eye on the redhead. Not that every other Jonin and Nambu in the city would it be after that display. Next match, Choji versus Naruto. "Ah, man! Double match!" Naruto whined as he stood back up. "It'll be fine," Kakashi patted his shoulder. "Remember, you already have passed to the next round. Think of this as extra training." Naruto grumbled, but went down and fought the boy, who watched him wearily like Naruto was a dog about to bite. Kakashi wondered how much of Team 7's fight in the forest they had seen. In the end, it wasn't a hard match for Naruto. Choji had his family technique, and when Asuma called out the promise of barbecue, he had the drive. But Naruto was quicker, and it only took a few spools of his last wire and an explosive tag for Naruto to knock the boy out. "Man, none of my students are going to make it," Asuma bemoaned. "None of Kurenai's did either," Kakashi pointed out, "and only one of Guy's." "All of yours did," Asuma said meaningfully. I guess you have a right to be confident when you nominated them. Well, Sakura still has to fight, as does Shikamaru, since they're the last two. Kakashi beamed at him. Asuma gave him an incredulous look, then looked at the grim, ready-looking Sakura to the lazy-looking Nara. I'm not putting any bets on Shikamaru, Asuma said, not after seeing your other two students win so handily. Kakashi flapped a hand. It's good you recognize my superior teaching skills. Asuma went to say something, but Hayate interrupted. Last match, Sakura versus Shikamaru. Shikamaru winced despite knowing it was coming and walked down the stairs like a death march, his team yelling sympathetic encouragement. Kakashi watched out of the corner of his eye as Sakura discreetly popped the soldier pill he had given her into her mouth and crunched it. You saw my team's fight in the forest? Kakashi asked Asuma lightly as Shikamaru looked grim. Sakura lurched forward into the ring, looking a tad terrifying with her blood-streaked clothes and her bruises and her set expression. They mentioned they saw them take down an Oto team. Asuma nodded, lighting a smoke. Kakashi nodded, suspicions confirmed, and turned to watch the match. You have the Nara intelligence? Yup, Asuma drawled. But I heard Sakura had the highest academic grades in the academy. Yup, Kakashi mocked. They watched silently as Hayate started the match. Sakura reacted by throwing an explosive note at Shikamaru, not her usual type of move, but Kakashi could see she was appropriately wary of his shadow and had decided to disorient him and hide in the resulting smoke, fleeing a distance away. He was very proud of his students, sticking to daijutsu with a few tools thrown in. They weren't showing their hands in ninjutsu, genjutsu, or weapons. That would be good for the final round. What followed was a rather long-distance battle, as Sakura refused to get close enough for Shikamaru to use his shadow, and Shikamaru was hesitant to get closer to use said shadow due to her heavy hitting, which resulted in a kunai shuriken battle. And it was magnificent, actually. Watching two people who could do high-level math on trajectory, speed, distance, and such in seconds made for very interesting throws. Sakura was throwing knives at ankles to ricochet to pin him down in one place, while Shikamaru was practically making Sakura dance with how often she had to move, using impossible twists to avoid such odd angles. The two did not bother to banter, just snatched up used knives and threw them in a display of mastery over the single weapon every ninja carried. In the end, Shikamaru was more quickly winded than Sakura, huffing and sweating as he trembled, trying to hide behind the debris of her initial explosion to give himself a breather. Sakura, who had retreated to the ceiling, saw her opportunity and went in quick and heavy. Shikamaru tried to use his shadow, but he was tired and slow, and it only latched onto her own for a brief moment before she charged through it and hit him hard enough to make him drop like a sack of rocks. And that concludes the matches, Hayate said, marking something down on his clipboard. Could the victors please come down here to draw numbers? All 7 of the winners, including Kakashi standing in for the sleeping Sasuke, each pulled numbers out of a box, calling them out so Hayate could mark them down. Then the man held up his clipboard. In 1 month's time, we will have stage 3, the combat stage, in the tournament style. You will face an opponent, and the winner will move on to the next round. This is the stage where you prove whether you truly deserve the title of chunin. You can even lose your match and still be considered to train well, not just in physical strength, but in strategy. The matches for the first round are as follows. Sakura versus Tomari, Naruto versus Neji, Sasuke versus Lee. Gaara has a pass for the first round and will be the first fight in the second round against the winner of the Sakura versus Tomari match. Dismissed. Tomari looked particularly green around the gills, darting a glance at the redhead, and Kakashi winced as well. Kakashi looked down at the papers that had the numbers scrawled on them, and his lips twitched as he caught only the faintest hint of a genjutsu on the paper. His full team had made it to the final round, and while teammates fighting could be a spectacle, there was more of a political show in pitting different villages' kids against one another. There had been no chance of leaving that to a luck of the draw. Kakashi gathered his students, who by now were more than dead on their feet. Sakura was the only one to make it out the door on her own 2 feet, the effects of the soldier pill still pushing her on. Sasuke had fallen asleep after his match, and when Kakashi picked him up, he nearly lolled. Naruto fell asleep as he was walking. 2 matches, as well as the worrying talk of seals, having exhausted him. Kakashi draped the dark-haired boy over his shoulder, mindful of his ribs, tucked the blond boy under his arm, and watched Sakura carefully as they retreated to the hospital. The mannequin in here had done a job of bandaging and patching them up, but Sakura and Sasuke needed a real doctor to help with their broken bones.